Hello, everyone. I hope you enjoyed your summers. We are back from summer break. It is September, and we're thrilled to have you back with the Kushmerek Connection. Joining us in studio today, no stranger to FATV, no stranger to this show. I believe you were my first guest, Senator John Cronin. Welcome.
Mike, it's good to be back.
Yeah,
it's always good to be invited back.
Right?
Yeah.
That's even more of a compliment than
It
getting on the
seems like
show
a
the
long
first
time ago. Yeah.
It was almost 4 years ago.
It's
Can you
crazy.
believe it?
It's absolutely crazy. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to start for those. I can't imagine there's many folks who are watching this show and not watching yours, even though it's a competitive rivalry, I like to think.
We got to look at the ratings. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, let's pull the numbers here and see what we get. But for those who might not know you or who have been tuning into the show but maybe didn't start following from the very beginning, can you introduce yourself a little bit briefly?
Sure, absolutely. So, John Cronin, I have the really privilege and honor of representing North County here in north central Massachusetts in the Massachusetts Senate. My Senate district has 10 communities, of which Fitchburg and Leominster are really the heart. But it goes down south to Clinton and east out to Groton and Westford. So pretty wide swath of communities and a lot of different issues. Fitchburg and Leominster are gateway cities, Ashby a very rural community, and really everything in between. So presents a lot of challenges, a lot of opportunities, but love this area of the state. I live here in Fitchburg, and I have had a great time over the past, we were just talking 3.5 years or 4 years, working with you, working with the rest of the delegation. And promoting local, state, and federal partnerships to get things done and deliver for our community. So, and hope to do it for a long time to come.
Well, I think you just hit it home there. With 10 communities, you span every issue from densely urban issues to deeply rural and agricultural issues, right, and everything in between. And that's the microcosm of the state, isn't it?
Yes, and right. I mean, there are a lot of problems that exist in every community but are a little bit different. But one of the big ones is housing, right? I think whether you're in a rural community or whether you're in a gateway city or whether you live within 495 and 128 in Greater Boston, everybody is feeling a housing crunch.
That's right.
And the cost of living is very high. The cost of renting has gone up precipitously since COVID, but it's been a long time coming, and we have a huge shortage of available supply here in the Commonwealth. So I know one of the things that me and you just got done that we'll talk a little bit about is the housing bond bill that we just sent to the governor's desk, but that has been a focus, I know, of ours over the past 3.5 years, is trying to find ways to build more supply and ease that burden and crunch on working and middle-class families.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, let's dive in right there.
Yeah.
Right. We're talking about a more than $5 billion investment in housing, the future of housing in the Commonwealth. Largest single investment in housing in the history of the Commonwealth. I mean, I think that's a pretty profound statement right there.
I'm excited we got that over the finish line. But before we passed that bill, and we're filming the first week of August right now. We passed it last week. It'll be signed by the governor very soon. We have really been focused as a delegation long before that on housing.
Right.
One of the other things I'm very proud of is that working together with the Gateway Cities Caucus as a part of the $1 billion in tax cuts that we provided to working and middle-class families throughout the Commonwealth was the Housing Development Incentive Program. Right. And as you know, the HDIP program is tailored specifically to the 26 gateway cities in the state, of which Fitchburg and Leominster are 2. And it really addresses what is the profound problem in increasing our housing supply in places like Fitchburg and Leominster, but other gateway cities as well, whether it's Springfield or Worcester or Chicopee, and that is that the market rate rents in gateway cities across the state don't support the debt service required to finance new construction and new development of housing units. So there is a state program that has existed since the Patrick administration where up to $2 million in tax credits can go to a project to spur private investment in housing developments in gateway cities. And that program was significantly oversubscribed, and there was a backlog of nearly $60 million worth of projects. And these were shovel-ready.
At a time where you've got, the largest housing crisis our state has ever seen, you've got developers who are tripping over themselves to apply for this funding source.
Who are permitted.
Shovel-ready.
Shovel-ready. They just can't close financing because they need a bridge. And so what we did is we tripled the size of that program, and we cleared the backlog as part of the tax reform package. And it's something that we worked on together very closely with our colleagues from every corner of the state you can imagine, down the South Coast, New Bedford, Fall River, and we got it done, which was huge.
Well, and John, you're the chair of the Senate chair of the Gateway Cities Caucus. You get to lead those 27 cities and towns across the Commonwealth, really focused on these issues. This has been a priority since before you took office. How good did that feel to help usher that through to the finish line? It
felt good. It's like, these things take time, right? And I think if you go specifically on Main Street in Fitchburg, there are half a dozen HDIP projects, housing development incentive program projects that are ready to go. And so it's going to be really exciting that we got this passed into law, but me and you both know and communicate with a number of private entities and developers who are going to come in, and they're going to turn some of those historic buildings into housing and put it to productive use. And it's really at the heart of the revitalization strategy that we're both promoting however we can at the State House.
Well, that's it. And it might sound kind of dull to folks tuning in of you've got a tax credit incentive program.
Cool story, Cronin.
Oh, exactly.
Cool story, Kushmerek. Yeah, right, yeah.
But, these are very tangible projects right here. And the very first HDIP project ever in Worcester County was the one right at the corner of Crescent Street and Blossom. It had been an old blighted lot of a building burned down decades ago, and really become symbolic of Fitchburg's, peaks and valleys.
Yep.
And, because of that HDIP program, Fitchburg saw 6 new beautiful townhouses. That property rejoined the tax rolls, is now contributing back to the city, and saw 6 new young families move in.
And we know it works, right?
Absolutely.
It's the first new housing development that has occurred on Main Street in my lifetime, right? So we need to do it over and over and over again. And I'm really proud that we got signed into a policy that's going to help do that.
That's it. And, that will bring dozens more young families to our downtown, and that means more businesses. That means more people walking along around Main Street. Whether it's at Fitchburg State or the Art Museum, they're supporting those institutions that have really driven Fitchburg forward.
Totally.
So, speaking about that housing development bill that we worked on just months ago, besides just the HDIP program, there's also a lot of small programs that I think are going to have a pretty profound impact on everyday residents of Massachusetts on both sides of the age spectrum here. And I'm really thinking the accessory dwelling units, which is really talking about in-law apartments. And again, it might sound kind of boring when we get into it, but the result is, by right, individual homeowners now are able to create an in-law apartment at their house. And that's really huge, right?
I think so many people, especially here in North Worcester County, have so much of their family's net worth tied up in their house, right? And a lot of people, especially as properties have appreciated over the past 5 or 10 years in a meaningful way, their net worth is tied to their house, but it's also very expensive to go move somewhere else, right? So what I think this policy does, and again, it allows for the by right construction of an accessory dwelling unit, a 700 or 800 square foot in-law unit at a house, and those were prohibited in many communities across the state. But it's going to allow people who own their houses options, and I think it's going to encourage multi-generational living. I think it's going to encourage people being able to stay in their properties, to not sell their homes. And I'll give you one example. I was out on Union Street in Leominster knocking doors this weekend, and I spoke to an elder constituent who had just lost her husband 3 weeks before. And they owned their house. They had done everything right their entire lives. They'd saved. Her husband had been in a nursing home for a number of years. And $13,000 to $14,000 a month for that level of care, which is just, those lifetime savings go away pretty fast with costs like that. And, this program would allow people to construct a unit that they could downsize into, not sell their house, keep their asset, rent out their unit, allow their family to come in and pay rent. It creates so many different options for people that meaningfully addresses our housing crisis. And first, it's going to, we project it's going to result in 5,000 or 6,000 to 8,000 units in the next 5 years at no cost to the state, right, just by expanding and allowing for this. So I'm hoping that it makes a dent in the housing crunch and again, creates options for middle-class families and working-class families who are dealing with the fact that there's no place to go, and that the cost of living here in Massachusetts is high.
Absolutely. I guess another issue on the other end of the spectrum, folks I think often talk about housing and education as just two bread and butter items that almost everybody in our community interacts and intersects with at some point in their lifetime, right? And education, particularly career-focused education, has been at the forefront of the conversation. And you've done a lot of work around something called innovation pathways, really creating these fantastic alternatives within traditional or comprehensive high schools. Can you talk a little bit about what innovation pathways are?
Sure. So innovation pathways are programs for juniors and seniors at comprehensive high schools. And when we say comprehensive or traditional high schools, we mean Fitchburg High School or Gardner High School. And what these programs allow for are upperclassmen to get a focused curriculum and then a co-op where they can partner with a regionally aligned industry in the area to give them essentially skills that are needed in our local and regional workforce. So at both Fitchburg High School and Gardner High School, there are innovation pathways in advanced manufacturing. And so kids are getting curriculum that is teaching the skills that people are using out in the workplace. And then they have the ability their senior year to go out and actually earn money, but do an internship and put those skills to work. So, we have a huge advanced manufacturing sector. That's not just a legacy manufacturing sector, right? I mean, we're making medical supplies here in north central Massachusetts, injection molding in our plastics industry. That's right. And so creating that pathway into our workforce, and these companies really love it because everybody is desperate for a skilled workforce. And so we've really created an aligned pathway that creates economic opportunity for our kids and meets the need of our local industry. So that's a win-win, and we need to expand those programs, offer them to more kids, make sure we make the capital investments in the classroom so they can work on those skills. But I think it's really something that, again, that we worked with as House and Senate partners. This was in the budget for the first time, a new line item 3 years ago, and we funded it at $600,000. Every year now, innovation pathways across the state have a $5 million line item that funds them, and we've scaled and expanded these programs to more than 60 communities and 60 schools. So, I'll talk a little bit about some other ways we're trying to bring trades back into traditional high schools and create more opportunities, but that's something I'm very proud of, and again, is nascent, right? I mean, I think we're well positioned to create really strong relationships between industry and our high schools. And again, it's all about creating that economic opportunity for young people.
Well, and a lot of that has been driven out of these conversations. I think that's one of the best parts of our job, right, is getting out in the community, getting out with our business partners and understanding from our residents to our business owners, what are the needs? And what are the needs and what are the opportunities? And I think what North Central Massachusetts does better than anybody is really this collaboration and communication. And so North Central Chamber of Commerce coming together and bringing these local business owners together for some of these conversations. We've really gotten an opportunity to understand we're real where the workforce needs, where the workforce opportunities, and how can we help deliver some of those students who we know are going to need good paying jobs at 18 years old and who are career oriented in their focus. How do we help them make sure that they have all the skills that they need to be successful in contributing to the economy at 18 years old? Right.
And I think at the heart of that effort, too, is really Mount Wachusett Community College and all of our community colleges across the state. And I know this is something that both of us are very proud of, that we've worked on together in the legislature. But last year in the state budget that the House and Senate worked together on, we provided for free tuition and fees for any student that wanted to attend a nursing program. Right. And what's special is all of our community colleges across the state have nursing programs, and there is a desperate need for nurses and CNAs in our workforce right now. So again, creating that economic opportunity for individuals and meeting the dire workforce needs and challenges in our healthcare industry. And then in the budget that last Monday the governor signed, we have eliminated tuition and fees for any student in the Commonwealth that wants to attend community college. And I think one thing that I didn't appreciate before I got into this office is just how low those barriers are for somebody who's trying to determine whether they can make community college work. Right? If you're attending community college, you're very likely a low-income student or come from a working-class family. Maybe you have a single parent. Most students are juggling jobs, childcare responsibilities, and it's very easy for someone to get derailed from pursuing that academic course. And this is something that I think we realize that is really important for the workforce of tomorrow, and to make sure that we've got the healthcare industry, we've got the advanced manufacturing industry. We have people who and the people who go to places like Mount Wachusett Community College, they're the leaders in this community, right? They are the people who stay here, and who are going to make our region vibrant. So I'm very excited about that. I know that's something you're very proud of too.
Well, and you talk to both big and small organizations, but even Bristol Myers Squibb and other large life sciences organizations who are very active in North Central and across Worcester County, talking about workforce alignment and talking about, what we need are not always PhDs and master's level folks, but we need, folks with certificates and with associate's degrees that are tailored for this industry. And that's really where I think our community colleges do their best work. And so not only do we have folks that are going to be career-oriented at 18 or 20 years old, but we're breaking down those economic barriers, and we're empowering a whole new generation of workforce that previously have been unemployed or underemployed. And so really we get to break down barriers, but we also get to really help industry thrive in this area, which creates future opportunities for others. And then we also look at something like, when you start looking at folks that are maybe geared towards that four-year degree or even beyond, other areas that I think we've made a really meaningful impact in their lives and in their parents' lives as well is around early college. And some of the both economic barriers we've broken down, but also some of the skills that we're helping these 16 and 17-year-olds acquire in advance of their college experience. You want to talk a little bit about early college? Sure.
It's like Innovation Pathways in the sense that it's a program that has been implemented and scaled across the state very recently. And it's tailored to, really that first-generation college student, or the student that comes from a low-income background or working-class family. And it allows juniors and seniors at our high schools to take courses for credit that they can transfer once they leave high school. And earn that for nothing. So if people,
Fitchburg State and Mount Wachusett.
Yeah. So if there are parents with kids in school right now, if you're listening, I can help save you $100,000.
That's right.
But they're great programs, right? And especially for that first generation college student, they get into an environment where they're learning from a college professor. They understand the coursework. They have college-age kids around them in some cases. And I think one of the outcomes that we've heard is that kids understand that they can do it, right? And college is a place for them, and they can handle it. And it not only gives them the confidence to pursue post-secondary education, but it gives them that head start. And there are kids at Fitchburg, at Leominster. I know there's one student at Gardner last year who the day before they graduated high school, they got their associate's degree from Mount Wachusett Community College. So that's a pretty good head start. And again, those are programs that are really important for eliminating those barriers to opportunity and to higher education.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And you think of not just the past couple of years worth of graduates from Fitchburg High or Leominster High, but you really start to think about what does this look like after an entire generation, after a decade's worth of success. And that's millions or tens of millions of dollars of debt that hasn't been incurred by parents. And you spoke about those first generation, but it's those are also for families solidly in the middle class who get to take advantage of that as well, and it gives them a huge leg up as well, and just reducing that cost burden and some of that value proposition of why should I send my kids to college? And you spoke about that $100,000
to graduate with $100,000 worth of debt or $200,000.
That's exactly it. If you can take a year worth of college off of that tuition bill, that's. That helps parents start to justify
Gabriel is what, two and a half? Or
2.5,
He's going to be in an early college as soon as possible,
14 years away, we're ready to go.
Yeah, he's already enrolled.
That's exactly it. That's right. And then also, I mean, you just mentioned Gabriel, right? Really, I think the legislature is taking some really meaningful steps to make it easier for child care centers to emerge. And I'm one of those parents. Like as we walked in the door today, we were talking about the challenges of child care, and I am not immune from those. And I'm bouncing out for 30 minutes. Then I'll be running right back home to take care of my little guy. And I think for so many parents, it's a barrier to them entering the workforce. Often we see parents, more often than not, it's mothers, but increasingly we're seeing fathers have to leave the workforce.
And just say it's not worth me going and working all day if I'm just going to give my salary back to a child care provider.
That's exactly it. And on the other end, there's just not enough child care providers across the state, and so we know we need to do a lot of work there, and I think we've really opened up some of those barriers, or we've eliminated some of those barriers and really opened up new both revenue sources for our child care providers, but also helped to ease the burden on parents as well. And I think that will really help make an economic difference for our working class families, but that will also ensure that we can really start investing in early child care.
And one of the things I think we should be proud of here in Massachusetts is the way we've stepped up in this area over the past 3 years. So, every state in the country received hundreds of millions or billions of dollars of COVID-related aid specifically for child care.
That's right.
And then that funding stopped. What Massachusetts did is we stepped up and we backfilled that federal money. So when the federal money went away, the state stepped up and said, we are going to continue to provide these resources to families because, as you said, right, it's important for the social emotional development of young kids. Kids who show up on the first day of kindergarten and haven't had the ability to receive early child education, they're already way behind, right, and some never catch up. And then again, to address our workforce crisis meaningfully, we need to get more labor market participation, and this is a key part of that strategy.
Well, you just talked about stepping up to backfill the federal government's inability to meet families where they are. Massachusetts is one of the first and only to do that, and then also jumping in too while doing that, we passed $1 billion tax relief package to taxpayers. Included in there was child care tax credits on there, child care credits, but also senior circuit breaker, so and as well as renter deductions. So really across the entire socioeconomic line, there's something there for everybody in that $1 billion tax relief package we passed just about a year ago. and I think this will be the first year as folks go to file their tax returns, we'll really start to see some meaningful differences, whether they're a renter or a senior in our community or somebody with a child or young children at home. You're going to see money back in your tax return.
Yeah.
So we're coming up on time here. I guess I've got a couple of quick questions that I didn't prompt you on, but I'd say over your past 4 years, what are you most proud of accomplishing at this point through 2 terms?
I'm most proud of what we've accomplished together, right? And I know we say this all the time, but especially in Fitchburg and Leominster, we can mess with each other, but nobody messes with us. And I think not just the Twin City delegation, yourself and Rep. Higgins and myself, but Rep. Kilcoyne, Rep. Scarsdale, Rep. Sina, we take going to the State House and speaking with one voice very seriously. And I think that has translated to some really meaningful results. And I'll take the disaster relief. Severe floods in Fitchburg in August of last year, a historic flood in Leominster that devastated the community. And we brought back millions of dollars in direct aid, both to individuals and the city, to backfill just the impact on the budget that it had.
That's right.
But, we successfully appealed FEMA's initial denial of individual assistance, and we've been able to do those things because we've been working together. So I would say, that doesn't exist in every other delegation, but we take rowing together in the same direction to deliver meaningful results seriously, and I hope we can keep that going.
That's always the joke I use of. Normally there's a friendly rivalry between House and Senate, and I think everybody in the delegation has a sincere and genuine relationship with you. And we get to Beacon Hill, and we'll joke about each other's chambers. But I'll say, well, I rarely say anything nice about a senator, but I'll say something nice about my senator. And I think that's indicative of the relationship that we have. That we don't even do the friendly kidding there, because collaboration is at the core of everything we do.
Yeah.
With your last minute, what does success look like for the next 2 years for you?
So I think success looks like continuing the momentum that we've built, and specifically here in Fitchburg. One of the things that I know me and you are so proud of are the dollars that we've brought back to the Fitchburg Redevelopment Authority and the city for that downtown revitalization and that market rate housing construction. We're going to change the status quo on this Main Street, and it's going to happen really fast. We were able to help New View Communities close financing with the nearly $900,000 that me and you got in earmarks. And I'm really proud to drive by that and see shovels in the ground. And I can't wait to see how special that project is going to be. So continuing that momentum, continuing to help revitalize the city, and to continue working together to build a vibrant future for this region.
Senator Cronin, John, my friend, thank you for coming on the show. Look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thanks, Mike. I hope I get invited back.
Absolutely.
Good.
To our audience back at home, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, as always, to our amazing hosts, FATV. Stay tuned. We'll see you in October.